going to be really neat. My name is Jon Graham, and good close friends of Katie Beth Carter, of course, Katie Beth's parents. Known them forever. We actually, I'm a minister as well, and I officiated their wedding. So I kind of started Carterism. And so we've been friends for a long time. My wife has been friends with Amy, Katie Beth's mom, since 8th grade. And so we were just kind of sitting at home one night and on Labor Day 2016 and saw the tragic news break and just followed all of the journey. And at some point I said, this story's got to be told to the world. And so be my first feature film, but I'm bringing in a team of people that have a lot of experience in production and so forth. But I've been doing video work for nonprofit corporate work for a long time, about 10 years, and always dreamed of getting a feature done like most guys do. And this is an amazing story to be able to tell.
It really is. So before we get into the questions just about the movie, more about you, what got you interested in filmmaking to begin with?
Well, I mean, it's just the art of it. You know, it's kind of the modern day parable. It's how we communicate. There are more people that are informed through movies and television than they are through books and news, print, and so forth. And so it's definitely the medium of the day, and it probably has been for quite a while. I live in Atlanta. The film industry here is exploding, and it's just you can't drive 10 miles without seeing a set sign somewhere pointing crew to their destination. And just over time, just got more and more compelled to jump in. You know, the difference between me and a lot of filmmakers is they start when they're 18. Maybe they go to film school. Maybe they just learn on their own. But they can be PAs and they can be, entry-level positions and work their way up to producers. I'm kind of jumping in the deep end early. I've been doing this industry-wise, in a form for about 10 years. My producing partner, Josh Sims, couldn't be with us today. He's got a lot of experience in the sets and so forth. So he did some stuff for Fox and stuff like that. So we're just finally kind of circling around to where this is our moment to make this story, and we're just excited we got to have such an awesome story to tell.
Yeah, we are too, especially being this close to JSU and involved. Actually, just hearing about the movie coming, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. I met with some of the administration before somewhere, I guess it was right at the beginning of summer break, and just kind of introduced myself, introduced the idea, and was met with a whole, just everybody was very gracious. Looking forward to filming there on campus if everything goes as expected, and pulling in a whole bunch of extras for some football scenes, and so it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I know Jay has a question for you too.
I do have a question.
Yep.
So, as a filmmaker, what films would you say, or even directors would you say, have been influential on you and your work?
Oh man, it's funny because this is a faith-based film, because Katie Beth was a faith-based person. You just can't tell that story without it.
For sure.
But for me to tell you some of my favorite themes, favorite films, you would go, and you're producing a faith-based film, why? I love The Shining. I think that's just it's one of my favorite. It's one of the best horror movies out there, but it's just a great storytelling. Stanley Kubrick. I don't like everything he did, but I do love that film. I love the content and the delivery of JFK by Oliver Stone. He's controversial in a lot of ways, but the way that he tells the story, he can rewrite history better than anybody I know. And I just love that film because I love the subject matter. It's fascinating to me. Recently, one of my absolute favorite films, and again, it's a horror movie. It's Babadook. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but man, what a powerful allegory that film is. And so I look at films like that, and I try to find ways to tell stories without slamming people in the face with the point. I'd rather they discover it on their own. So those are some of my inspirations.
I like that. I like that you have very different films as your inspirations too? Like they're not all the same.
Well, the hardest question for a filmmaker to answer is what's your favorite film? Because, I mean, that's like asking a cook what's your favorite dish. I mean, it's all there. You love every bit of it, but what you love is how it's put together. So it doesn't necessarily hold to a particular genre. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag.
Nice. Moving from like your role with the family, being such a close friend and knowing them forever, but also being a filmmaker, at what point did you know that, you know, you wanted this story to be told and it needed to be told versus just being a friend and hearing the news?
Well, it just seemed like this story got bigger and bigger and bigger. When Taylor Swift made her donation to the funeral expenses, that was national news. It went, you know,
Yeah.
Billboard magazine, People magazine, USA Today, they all covered that. And so it got a lot of people's attention, and to be quite frank, it made me look a little bit deeper. But what really caught my eye was there was a news story that the local Chattanooga News did there at Heritage High School where Katie Beck graduated. And they went in, they talked to some of her classmates, and they showed this young man. They never actually showed his face because I guess they didn't get clearance to do that. But they were talking about how Katie Beth left a note for all of her classmates. And that was back before she graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
When she gave those notes, they were all a letter of encouragement of some kind specific to that individual. So it took a lot of effort and a lot of consideration. And this guy, he's I don't know, high school sophomore, junior, something like that. He reaches in his wallet and he pulls out the note that Katie Beth gave him 4 months earlier. And I thought to myself, this is a dude who's not her boyfriend, who kept a note stuck in his wallet for 4 months as a daily encouragement to him. And I thought, wow, what a powerful impact she must have had on her classmates, which proved true when you see how they've built a school down in Nicaragua in her honor, and those high school kids went out and raised $60,000 to make that happen. It's just pretty profound. And the more I saw that, I was like, gosh, this has to go to the world. The world needs to see how big of an impact this young lady made, among her peers and in her community.
It's amazing. I know. I'm echoing in the phone. How am I echoing? Oh, but anyways, it's fine. So I heard about it probably 3 months ago, but I know you've been working on it much longer than that. What's kind of like the process or the timeline that you have been working on this and how to continue it to get it made?
Yeah, we started. I went to Jason and Amy Carter back in February, and I said, look, guys, I love y'all, and we've been friends a long time, and I want to ask you for your permission to tell Katie Beth's story. And they thought about it for a while and prayed about it, thought about the implications of it, and then they finally said, yeah, we trust you, and nobody we trust more than we could, give this story to tell. So immediately Josh and I started working on the script. And I know folks there at JSU especially are very familiar with Katie Beth's, the story, the timeline. Well, when you take a life story and you try to compress it into about 2 hours or less, you got to rearrange a few things. You maybe have to exaggerate this, underplay this, fictionalize a little bit. So that's why our story is based on the life of Katie Beth. And there are a few elements that happened, but they didn't happen exactly the way the film portrays it. It's not anything dishonest. It's just a way to get the story down the line quicker, to get to the payoff, for lack of a better word, where the school was made and all those kinds of things. So we put that script together. We presented it to Jason and Amy. They read through it. Actually, we did a table read with the entire family, which I got to tell you was pretty emotional experience, because you're basically reliving this tragic event in her life. And when we got to that point, I mean, when her grandfather had to get up and leave the room, I mean, it was a tough day. But
I can't imagine it being anything less than emotional.
Oh gosh, it was unbelievable. And I don't get nervous about much, but I was nervous as I could be, because I knew I was not just talking about a character. I was talking about their daughter.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of people's friends. So anyway, they pushed back on a couple of things, nothing aggressive. They just said, we really don't like the way this was done. Can you fix that? So we had one major revision and presented it to them, and they were sold. They thought it was great, excited about it. And so that happened about the 1st of July when they gave us script approval. And ever since then, we have been raising funds, trying to raise the funds, and we've got a really unique way to do that I'll tell you about in a second. But also looking for actors to attach to the picture because, you know, once you have a known name, things move a lot quicker, you know. So those are kind of where we're at now. We just launched at the beginning of this month. We launched a funding campaign, which is different than we're the first faith-based film and only the second feature film in U.S. history to do this, and it's pretty exciting.
Wow. That's amazing. I know you said JSU would probably be, hopefully, a place to film and work with. So is there any chances that JSU students or film students will be involved either as being extras or helping with the film?
Well, I can tell you this much. I do know we're doing a scene at the football game, so that'll be a scene, and we're going to need a full stadium. So I think we could empty out all the classrooms and the dorm rooms, and we could make that happen. So yes, in that regard. We're going to be doing most of our shooting in Georgia, but obviously the scenes that are at JSU, and I don't want to speak out of turn. I've got a very informal, very kind, accepting kind of a greeting from the administration there, but nothing is in paper, nothing's in writing, so I don't want to hang them out to dry. But our hope is that will progress and we'll shoot there. At such a time, absolutely, we would love to pull in some folks to help us on set. Anything that folks can do to help is going to, make it a more meaningful experience for the entire college. So, university. And we hope to absolutely pull in some folks to help us with those things as well.
That's amazing. I know there's always people here that want to help lend a hand in anything. So I know Jay has another question for you.
I do. I just have a list here that I'm just reading off of. So, so what would you say your end vision for this film is? Like, what do you want to see come from this movie that you're making?
The theme, the message, there are a couple of messages in my mind that come from this story, come from Katie Beth's life. And one is the redemption of grief. Everybody has grief, and how we deal with that, how we get past it, and what we allow God to do in the midst of it. We can't ever take away the grief, but we can see good come from it, and that's exactly what's happened in Katie Beth's life. So we want to celebrate that. And the other thing is, the life that she led was just such a bright light of encouragement, kindness, love, Christ-likeness, just to be honest with you. And that's a message for all of us. I don't care how old we are. We need to be reminded that we need to be walking through our life in that kind of way. I mean, there has never been, in my recollection, a more divided time in our culture where people are looking for the thing that separates rather than the thing that connects us. And I hope that this film will encourage us to look at the person we may see as different, or we may see as believing even differently than we do, or having a different ideology, but we can find and share love together and try to get through this life together and hopefully model a Christ-like life in that way that she did. So that's what I hope folks take away from it.
Okay, that's a good answer.
But I know that you obviously worked very, very closely with the family, just going about different events in her life. Did you talk with any of her friends here on campus, and did they help you kind of understand her campus presence too?
Oh yeah, I actually, I think it was in April, maybe a little bit later, but I went and met with Noelle Stovall and some of the ballerinas that she danced with, and we had a little coffee together at a coffee shop there in town, and just got to share stories and hear their heart, and they could hardly even speak without crying about missing her. And she was just so loved by those folks, and it was just a neat experience. Matter of fact, on our Facebook page, I shot a little selfie video there of them and their encouragement about the film, and so folks can check that out there too. But it's been pretty neat to see, especially through the ballerina crew, how much of an impact she made in their lives in such a very short time.
That's amazing. With faith-based films, I know sometimes they always receive mixed reviews just because, like you said, how divided everything is today. Did the thought ever cross your mind to maybe like hesitate on doing this film just because of that, or was it ever even a question?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was and it wasn't. It was because of that exact reason. You know, there's a lot of folks that go, oh gosh, a faith-based film, whatever. Yeah. I get it. I totally understand. The reason for that a lot of times comes down to budget. I mean, if folks that were working in that genre had the kind of money that Marvel Studios does, I mean, you could pull in every A-list actor you had and every A-list crew that you could find and make an amazing film. But I also want to point out, you know, faith-based films a lot of times get thrown under the bus, but how many bad movies of any genre are there out there? I mean, my gosh. I mean,
millions.
One out of every 20 may be worth watching. The rest of them are just garbage, you know. And so it's easy for us to throw faith-based films under the bus because of those kinds of things, but other genres fall in the same category. But to answer your question, yeah, we hesitate a little bit because we know that when we declare this is a faith-based film, it kind of pushes things into a particular part of people's minds that we may not be able to get out of. However, Katie Beth's story, you can't tell it without telling the faith side of it. You know, you just can't. Yeah. So what we decided, and what Josh and I determined, was we were like, you know, we got to tell this story as honestly as we can about who she was. And in that process, she wasn't a preachy person, so we're not going to do a preachy film. She was a sincere, honest, and legit believer that lived it out just day to day and made decisions that were informed by her faith. And so let's just present that and let the chips fall where they may. And so that's what I feel like we've really done.
Yes, well, I'm very, very glad that y'all stopped hesitating and did go through with it, because I know just from watching interviews and behind-the-scenes videos of other faith-based films, talking to the directors and people, they always talk about that hesitation, and you wonder if like every person making a film like that hesitates on the same thing. But
yeah, it's tough. I mean, honestly, it's such a fine balance, because if you get too churchy, too whatever, then it even turns off some of the faith-based folks, you know, the Christian typical fan base or whatever. If you don't make it enough, it also turns them off. So the only thing we need to do to solve that equation was, let's just tell the truth. Let's just do everything we can to present Katie Beth as authentically as we possibly can. And so, you know, after the family has read through it, some of her friends have read some of it, it's like, yeah, I think we got it.
That's awesome. I know you said you are still raising money and campaigning for funds for this movie. How are some ways that the audience here can help invest in your movie and kind of get it going?
Wow, that is probably the most awesome question you could have asked me.
Perfect.
We started something that's really, really unusual. It's called crowd investing. I think everybody's heard of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Kickstarter, Indiegogo, that kind of thing, where basically you throw some money at a project that you believe in, and they might give you a T-shirt or a DVD or some sort of a thank you. In this case, it's actual investing that is regulated by the SEC, and on the back end, if the film is successful, which of course we all believe it will be, if the film is successful, those investors will get a return on their funds. They will not only get I really am not at liberty because of the regulations to tell you the specific details, but if you go to the website, you can see it. But what's different is, in the past, folks that invested in film had to have a particular net worth. They had to be $150,000 per year or more to invest in film, really in any startup. But in 2016, there was new legislation passed that opened that up to anybody for a minimum of $100. So most folks, like a family of four, is going to spend $100 just to go see a movie, let alone could they invest that money, you know, in a film. I know college students don't have a ton of money, right? But 4 or 5 could get together, throw in $20 a piece, and invest under the name of one individual, and just hopefully trust that they're going to
share
when the money comes back, you know. But those kinds of things. And really, one thing I love so much about college students is their passion. When they believe in something, they believe in it hardcore, and they're not afraid to make noise about it. And that's what we need. We need people that will be our ground troopers to kind of just get to the folks that could invest and say, hey, this is something I believe in, and this is how you can show your support.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that they have actually opened it up to more people, because I know there's tons of people out there that would love to get behind a movie like this, you know, that just tells the truth and is faith-based, especially here in the South. So
yeah.
I'm so glad that that is amazing. But that is actually all the questions I had. Thank you so much for calling in and talking to us and letting us help, like, spread the word and getting it out there. And, you know, me and Jay are going to go rally up some college kids to throw in some money for you.
That's fantastic. I want to tell everybody how to find it. If you go to Kind Katie, of course, Katie spelled Katie, kindkatie.com, that's where all the investment information is. If you want to, you know, chase us on text messages, you can send the word Katie to 21000, and we send out a few texts a month and just keep people updated. And then our Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram is Kind Katie Movie. So that's how to reach us.
We will have all that linked on our Facebook page as well, so if anyone didn't catch it on here, we can post it on Facebook just so they have a physical link to go to. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for calling in and talking with us, and we hope you have a great day, and we cannot wait to hopefully see the movie being shot here at the stadium. I know I'll be there at the stadium. I can totally fill a seat.
100%.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I sure do appreciate y'all taking some time to let me talk about it.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much for calling in and talking to us, and we'll be checking in with you.
Fantastic. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks.
You too.
John.
Thank you so much. Bye.
What a nice guy.
Okay, y'all heard it here. We are linking everything. Again, that was Jon Graham doing the Kind Katie movie, and y'all should go invest, because like y'all heard, he said this is a true story about a JSU student here, and if you're a freshman you may not know her, but it really is an insight on how to live a Christian life on campus. That can be hard. Yeah, don't you agree?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's face it, Jesus he's struggling to get on college campuses sometimes, y'all. But we're gonna play a few songs. After the show, we're gonna have everything linked on Facebook, so y'all can invest, keep up with updates, everything like that. So this is Love So Soft by Kelly Clarkson. There we go. He had really long answers.
He did. It was good.
I was like, thank God.
It reminded me.